All right, let's bring in our legal guys. Avery Friedman, a civil rights attorney and law professor in Cleveland. Good to see you. And Richard Herman, a New York criminal defense attorney, joining us from Las Vegas. Good to see you as well. All right, so just to refresh everyone's memory, let's listen again to the confirmation hearing question that's being made a reference point when Senator Al Franken asked then Senator Sessions before confirmation. This was back in January.
And if there is any evidence that anyone affiliated with the Trump campaign communicated with the Russian government in the course of this campaign, what will you do?
Senator Franken, I'm not aware of any of those activities. I have been called a surrogate at a time or two in that campaign, and I did not have communications with the Russians, and I'm unable to comment.
All right, so Richard, you first, Sessions says that answer was correct as he understood it at the time. Is it the phrasing that's key in your opinion?
It's not. It's an objection, failure to respond to the question, Judge. He didn't answer the question. He threw out what looked like a prepared response here. Fred, the elephant in the room here is to what extent, if any, was the Trump campaign complicit with the Russian cyber attack on our democratic election process? That's the issue. People surrounding Trump have ties with the Russians. They're being investigated. The question here to the proposed Attorney General was, what would he do if he saw someone had those ties? He offered himself up on a platter. He gave an incorrect answer. It was perjury, Fred. It was a lie. It was an overt act of a crime. The question is the intent aspect of it. And he had an opportunity to amend that answer after reviewing the transcript of his testimony. He never did, Fred. He never did until he was caught by the Washington Post. Now, at this stage, he wants to modify and clarify. It's like you rob a bank, and 6 months later, they catch you, and you say, oh, here's the money. I didn't mean to rob the bank. He committed a crime, Fred. A normal, average person gets prosecuted for this. He's the Attorney General. It's incomprehensible.
Right. So then, Avery, your chuckling tells me that you are in disagreement with almost everything Richard just said.
Well, looks like somebody's entered a verdict with all the evidence. Look, what's involved here is it seems improbable if you met with Sergei, the Russian ambassador, and this is a guy you don't forget. He fills up a room 6 months before the testimony, and then 4 months. It seems like something's wrong, at best ineptitude. But the most important person here, Frederica, is Dana Boente. That's a name nobody knows, but he is the most important person because he is the Attorney General, acting Attorney General, and he has the authority to appoint an independent prosecutor. We've seen that before when Attorney General Ashcroft recused himself. Jim Comey, now the FBI director, was the acting Attorney General.
And do you see that happening, likely because of these meetings with Ambassador Kislyak?
Oh, I think it should. I think Boente is a straight shooter. He's the former U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. And I think, like any other good Attorney General, there should be an investigation. Doesn't mean a prosecution, but you've got to get to the facts. And the fact that Mr. Sessions is going to amend in writing, that doesn't do it. Where I'm in agreement is that he's got to go back in front of Senate Judiciary. If you appear before a committee, be put back under oath and then clarify, not written. That's not the way to do it.
Well, do you see that potentially happening? Because there are some within the Senate Judiciary who say they want him to testify again. They want to ask some questions in addition to the supplement that he'll be offering for confirmation hearings.
He should, but he won't.
And do you see it potentially happening, though, Richard?
No, there's no way he's going to appear before that committee again and answer verbal questions. He'll respond
if invited, or if that is the decision of the Judiciary Committee, how would he refuse that?
He'll just refuse it. He is the acting Attorney General. There are no charges brought against him. He's no way he's going to go before them again because he already blew it the first time. He'll answer in writing with a team of lawyers. They'll prepare responses. as far as this special prosecutor, there is no more special prosecutor statute. That expired in '99. An independent prosecutor who does not answer to the Department of Justice and the president must be appointed here, Fred. Otherwise, we're never going to get a true, objective investigation.
And at issue here, here's a timeline of some of the meetings, you know, with the Kislyak that we're talking about in terms of Senator Jeff Sessions. And again, you know, the net is fairly wide, involving other Trump campaign folks, Carter Page, the son-in-law, you know, Jared Kushner. But as it pertains to Jeff Sessions, he met with the ambassador during the RNC in July, and then again there was another meeting later, as senator, and Jeff Sessions has said there's a distinction. I mean, when he used the language as sometimes I'm described as a surrogate. So are the meetings different when you are on the campaign trail versus when you are a senator? Perhaps there are fewer furrowed brows when you're meeting with the ambassador as a senator, Avery? Especially since this particular ambassador has met with a lot of people.
The fact is that the campaign paid $2,800 for Jeff Sessions to be here in Cleveland during the convention, then another $223. It was as a campaign surrogate. So if he wants to parse, that's awful for an attorney general, but that's going to be his explanation. Did he lie? I don't know. Did he parse? There's no doubt about that.
And Richard, quickly, would it make a difference whether you are having this meeting as a senator or as a surrogate of a campaign?
That's a question of fact, Fred. He was the first U.S. senator to support Trump. He was his ardent supporter. He was by his side from the beginning here. He was his man. And he was at the Republican National Convention speaking to a Russian ambassador, which slipped his mind. Then he met him a month later, which slipped his mind. This comes on the heels of General Flynn having to resign his office. It comes on the heels of the intelligence agency's findings that the Russians have to.
Why is that not the same thing, Avery? Why is that not the same thing?
Because Flynn was untruthful to Mike Pence. In this case, Sessions was put under oath.
Sworn testimony.
And some would argue that perhaps he was not telling the full story to an audience of millions of people, starting with those on Capitol Hill and then the broadcast audience, the American people.
That's right.
How is that different, Avery?
Well, it's different again because he was put under oath. It makes it more serious. Yes, it's not right because he was not under oath, but the fact is they locked him under oath. He should appear again. I don't think he will because of the potential criminality of saying something, again, inconsistent with the facts and with the truth.
Okay, we'll leave it right there. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Richard Herman, Avery Freeman, always great to see you every Saturday.
Always great to see you, too.
I appreciate it.